Good evening, C3 parents. I'm your coach, Karien Pitout, and welcome to our live chat about parenting burnout. Now, there's so many things that I can ramble on, so I'm gonna try and stick and keep it to three things that we can cover that relates to parenting burnout and the reality of it. If you're here, hit that like button, say hello, take part in the conversation. If you have any parenting questions or anything like that, you're more than welcome just to drop a question. I'll get it in the live chat and we'll get to those questions or to those comments. I love hearing from you guys. Oh, sorry. um, got a frog in the throat. All right. So the three things that I'm going to talk about, and to give you an idea, tonight is not necessarily a night of how I usually do things. Like, oh, here's a issue, or here's something that we struggle with, and here's a solution. I'm just really going to talk about the realities of how easy it is to burn out as a parent, especially in this day and age. And basically share a bit of my own personal parenting journey and how I've experienced the parenting burnout, even though I've done the self care and everything else that is needed. It just kind of sneaks up on you. So, one of the first things we're going to look at is so often parents hear you need to balance, and you need to balance this, and you need to balance that, and you need to find a balance between your family and all of that. And I know that our female parents, we experience it a little bit on a different equation or different level. If you are a working parent, people kind of question your loyalty or your love for your child, or we perceive it that way. And then if you're a stay-at-home parent, people still question your ability to take care of your kids because of the house chores, and then they start treating you as if you have the intellect of a rock. It's this fine balance that you need to try and find, and it actually makes it very difficult to socialize. It makes it very difficult to find things that actually releases your stress levels, because no matter where you go, in the back of your head you have this little voice keep on telling you that whatever you're doing, it's not good enough and you're not doing it good enough. Now, I know for male parents or dads, you have other stresses. There's this cultural pressure of that you have to keep on performing at a certain level in your career and those kind of things. And um, but there's not really there's pressure that you need to support your family, like um, and my words are gone. Man, um, I'll get back to the word. I'll get the word now. Where you actually have to constantly like bring home the bacon, and you have to um, constantly meet your family's monetary financial needs, their the household needs and all of that. But there's very little space often for male parents to actually have room or space to connect with their kids. And it's part of the conversation that we had last week about gender identity, that we raise men to become distant, and then almost uninvolved parents because of the way that the stigma regarding small boys is growing up. But there is the thing that all parents, whether they are dads or moms, it doesn't matter, experience parenting burnout. And one of the factors that influences our levels of ease to reach a point of burnout is our stress levels, is the way that we actually engage with ourselves, the s- talk that we have in our head, the decisions we make, the amount of time that we spend with our kids, the understanding or coming to grips with how our kids are and where they are in their um, basically their brain development, how old they are, how much of their survival is still your responsibility. And what adds to that stress is this era of social media because let's be honest, if a child does a foolish thing and get hurt, especially in the era we grew up, that child was to a certain degree held liable, responsible for their bad choices. Obviously, depending on the age of the child, there was a few questions like, hey, where was the parents? But in general, children were raised a bit more free range. They had a bit more freedom to explore, and they weren't so constantly monitored by parents. So if a child breaks an arm, like, oh, yeah, he climbed up a tree and he slipped and he fell. And hardly any person will turn around like, yeah, but where was the parent? Why didn't the parent catch the kid? Why didn't the parent stop the kid from climbing the tree? Um, we're now in the era of social media. We often get it that if a child slips and falls or climb a tree and break an arm or get into a situation where there was extreme danger or not extreme danger where they got hurt, one of the first people that society attacks is moms, and then the second is the parental unit. So as a parent and as a female parent, as a mom, I personally constantly have this dialogue that I have to suppress in my head when I start giving my children freedom, when I start allowing them to do things that can be risky and may be deemed unsafe up to a certain extent. Um, and like having to measure all of those things the whole time and continuously being aware that if my child gets hurt, if something goes wrong, the person they're going to blame instead of support will be me. So, this whole social media blaming the parents movement is extremely isolating for us as parents, and it adds to our stress factor. So, regardless of how much self care we do, you still in the back of your mind feel guilty. Still in the back of your mind, you're worried. And being worried and having those levels of stress actually makes us dysregulated and makes it easier. It's like really impedes our ability to be gentle to our children, to give space to our children to grow and develop and be who they are, and explore and try new things. So that stress levels really, really plays an important part. And it then also becomes very difficult for us to stay calm. Think about how you parent when you're at home with your kids and how you parent when you're out and about with your kids. You do parent differently because you're worried what the rest of the world's going to think about your parenting and your kids, your name as a family. Will you be invited back to that birthday party after your son climbed on the wall and crashed down on the couches constantly after being told he's not allowed to do it? Um, how will you be invited back to this friend's house when your child decided to run around like crazy and have a huge tantrum because you said no for something? So, all those things add stress where there's almost very little space for children to be human and very little space for parents to not be helicopter parents, not be overly involved in their child's every single move or every single step. And living life as if you're living it for like two people, or if you have more than one kids, just add the amount of people for every kid you add. Um, you're spreading yourself thin. You are becoming more and more exhausted, more and more tired. Um, in this social media era, we've got numbers of depression, postpartum depression numbers that is skyrocketing. Um, that and it's because parenting, we say it takes a village and we find our village online, but we're still scared to be authentically who we are as a parent because we know that there will be judgment and the internet never forgets, so it will always be there no matter which direction we turn or which direction we look. So that gnaws at you and it burns you out. It makes you tired. It actually creates spaces where you would have considered taking your child to the park and then go, but I don't really want to take my kid to the park because they behaving dysregulated. I am don't have the patience for this. So we are actually missing out opportunities with our kids, building memories with our kids because we have those level of stress. If you live in a country where it's not always safe to go to the park or safe to be out and about, we start restricting our movements. Our fear, human beings are in a certain sense driven by fear. We always seek what is safe. Yes, we've got our adrenaline junkies and all of that, but there's a fitting in, a safeness, that fear of falling out of that. And when we start being driven in our decision making by that fear, we start limiting opportunities and our world closes in more and more and more. And the world becomes more isolated, it becomes smaller in that whole process. And then we had the caveat of what's happening currently in the world. We've got a pandemic that where even though our fears made our worlds a bit smaller, we still had a bit of space where we could like move about in. Things were like you didn't have to worry, am I when I go to the shops, am I coming back sick when I'm coming home? You didn't have to really consciously think about it. Where now, with the past year that we've had until you're vaccinated, that constant fear of, am I taking care of my kids? Did we wash our hands the right way? Are they wearing their masks the right way? Am I wearing my mask the right way? Did I remember my mask? Um, who in my family has been affected by it? Who of my friends need support because someone's affected by it? When we go to work, we need to go through the sanitizing protocol. When my kid goes to school, they don't even get to play like they used to play pre-COVID. So it's extra stress, it's extra worries. And in the past 4 months, I've picked up conversations from parents that often starts with my child used to be this calm and relaxed kid, or I used to be this calm and relaxed person. And all of a sudden, I'm explosive, my child's explosive, we're constantly butting heads. What's going on? Is this a a developmental leap, or what's gotten into my kid, or what's gotten into me? um, if a parent actually is willing to do the self-reflection of asking what has gotten into me. And the short and sweet answer is you are at basically at COVID exhaustion, and therefore that burnout that you had before the year started, you already have that burnout, and now you add COVID to the conversation, and then it's just mental fatigue. You're tired. It doesn't matter what you do for your self care, whether it is taking that hour or two a week to just stop, pause, and relax. It doesn't matter whether you do your yoga or do your running, or it helps a bit, but there's that constant mental fatigue because we are constantly with this bubble of fear that is around us. And I've experienced it so much. It just feels like the blows keeps on coming, and it almost feels like life is waiting for you to reach your burnout level, and then it just like throws everything at you that it can possibly do to see if it can break you. We went through that now in the past 2 3 months, and as much as I took time to spend with my friends, as much as I took time to just pause and do something for myself, constantly it just felt like I was still not rested. And I'm still moving out of that. I'm still working through my burnout. But it's as if it just kept on going and going and going. Go to the shops. I've got a sensory kid, and in general they struggle with being out in public. Now it's even worse. Now they can't touch anything for reals, not touch anything because we don't know if it's safe. Those kind of stresses, having to navigate no social interaction. Um, I honestly believe my kids forgot how to behave in public, and I suspect I'm not the only parent that has experienced this, where it feels like our kids just forgot what is expected of them when they're in public. Um, and we're stricter and we're more tense when we go out in public with them. So it just got to a point where I was so exhausted. The only thing that I wanted to do was sleep. I wanted to hide away. I didn't want to think about making food. I didn't want to think about taking responsibility for anything. I've got a very hands-on husband, which means Hubbatron is he's a very involved parent. His mom did an amazing job when she raised him, and I will always love you, Mum. You're absolutely amazing in how you raised your son. He's hands-on with the kids. He's very involved. I actually am fortunate that I'm not in a partnership and raising kids as if I don't have a partner. Um, he doesn't babysit the kids. He takes care of them. He parents them. And yet, still, even with all that help, I've I just reached a point where if you can leave me in the room for the next week and let me just sleep, let me just hide, I will gladly do that. Um, because everything is a decision and it's mental load, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I finally did speak to the Hubbatron about it. We had long conversations. He took over quite a few of my responsibilities to give me space to get rid of the mental load. And do you know what's the first thing that I did on the time period that I had space was apologized. And I'm like, I feel guilty. I'm sorry that I'm just useless. And he was super supportive, and he kept on telling me, but don't apologize. You're feeling sick. You're feeling burnt out. You're done. Your energy levels is done. Um, get the rest you need. I'm fine. I'll do the laundry. I'll do the dishes. I'll do that. I'll make sure that there's food. Don't worry. Just and during that time period, I realized that I'm fortunate that I've got a life partner that helps me this way. But there's so many single parents out there that when you reach burnout, there's nowhere you really can turn. Um, and then when you reach burnout, you start feeling guilty that you're not coping. And logically, you know that, well, I'm 100% doing everything for the kids, for my work, for the household, for every single thing. And I need to try to figure out how to handle social situations. And I need to try to figure out how to handle this COVID situation. And I need to try to figure out how to handle the criticism that people tend to give to parents, unsolicited advice and unsolicited criticism or commentary. And I want to salute you. And I wish I could say I have a solution for how to work against the burnout. But I think my main focus of tonight is let us recognize that burnout can happen even if you do self care. We as a society, as a global society, is going through an enormously stressful time period that added additional stress to what our normal lives used to be. Not that that was not stressful, but it was easier to manage and to balance our self care and versus burnout. It was easier to find a way to take a break because pre-COVID, you could, in theory, reach out to a family member or reach out to a friend or reach out to someone and say, please just take the kids for a couple of hours. I just need to breathe. Um, we can switch off the social media and take a break a bit from the social media. But if you are already that isolated as a parent, we find refuge in and yeah, I'm going to say it, even though I'm on social media and I participate in social media, it's a false sense of security that we sometimes get in these social media parenting groups, in these social media groups, because we just so searching for a village or a tribe or people that either understand where we're at or that's willing to support us going forward without judgment. And unfortunately, we live in a society where it's so easy to judge someone of on the other side of the screen. And that worry of I'm afraid to be judged actually creates the perfect storm for someone to shut down, to not comment, to not ask the questions they have, to not want to reach out, to not want to say anything. And it actually makes you feel like you're that outsider standing on the edges of a group that's having a party and you're not included. You hear them laughing, you hear them having fun together, but you are an outsider. You don't understand the jokes, you don't fit in. And I suspect that more of us feel that in the social media circles than what we're actually willing to acknowledge, willing to admit to, because it is isolating. Parenting can be extremely isolating. Obviously, I can't go to the bar with my 2-year old to go have drinks with my friends that don't have kids. I have to find alternative ways to socialize. I have to find alternative ways to live my life. Things that we used to do, we cannot necessarily continue doing because we added a new member to the family. And that means a lot of friendships end up not existing anymore. We lose a lot of friends. We can gain extra friends, but it's so much more difficult in this social media era, especially now during COVID. And trust me, like I said, I make use of social media. Obviously, that's how you guys know about me. I make use of social media. There's good in social media, but I think the challenge for all of us is, in the end of the day, is first of all, we need to learn to have grace for other parents, whether they parent the same way as we do. We need to have grace for people's mistakes. And we need to have grace for the idea that, you know what? Accidents freaking happen. Let's support each other when something goes wrong. Let's really become a village that pulls together when the kid falls out of the tree and break their arm, instead of telling the parent that they were a bad parent, because a child and a parent is not one and the same person. They do not share a brain. There's no way that that parent would know that their child would think it's a really good idea to jump out of the tree and land wrong. How is a parent supposed to know that would happen? Obviously, there's certain risk assessments. Kids grow older, they're supposed to be able to handle certain things better. And you have an expectation of a child's ability to do certain things because they've got a track record. You raised the kid, you know the track record of your kid. So it is a calculated risk. Raising children is calculated risks. And we need to start having grace when that calculated risk ended up in something harmful, because we cannot wrap our kids in little cotton balls. We can't keep them home forever. And we most definitely cannot live their lives for them. So, in conclusion, regarding burnout, it is real. Currently, you probably have it due to all the stresses of the environment that we're currently living in. And there is support, there is help. I'm honestly reaching out to you if you want to chat about your burnout, even if it's just to talk to someone that can tell. I probably won't be able to give you advice on how to move forward out of your burnout, but I'm willing to listen. You can email me on info@c3parenting.com, or you can WhatsApp me on the Dutch area code, Dutch country code, +3162. Hold on, I need to write that one down. Hold on. 6398220. +31 626398220. You're more than welcome to send me a WhatsApp. and say, hey, you know what, I just need someone to talk to. We really need to start pulling together as a community and supporting each other and carrying each other through this process where the majority of parents is currently experiencing burnout and that reality of it is tough out there, guys. It is not easy. Guys, please stay safe, wash your hands, and take a breath. Um, with the vaccine rates, we will soon, hopefully, um, start seeing significant improvement, significant relaxation, and significant just being able to let go. I can't even say we're halfway there because we don't know when this will be over, but you're not alone and expect your children to act out during this time period. Expect yourself to want to act out and stomp your feet and slam the cupboard doors. Um, when this whole thing started, we thought it would be, "Oh, it's a bit of an adventure. It's fine. We'll get through this." Um, because a lot of us thought of this pandemic as a sprint. Unfortunately, it's a marathon, and I think a lot of us had hit the proverbial brick wall in this marathon. So please stay safe. Reach out if you need help. Please go check in your country depression lines. Uh, reach out to parents that has newborns specifically. Parents who have older kids, it's a bit easier to wrangle, at least being able to go to places. But with a newborn, you're really kind of stuck. Reach out to them. They're probably not okay. Reach out to um, your folks. Reach out to family members if you have a healthy relationship with them. Reach out to your friends. Um, and don't feel like you're alone because you're not. And burnout is not the end of the world, but it's definitely something that we need to take into serious consideration. And don't fall for the almost toxic self care mindset that people have. Because the things that they call self care, like the bubble bath and the chocolates and the that's not self care. That is self medication. That is not taking proper care of yourself. Um, Proper taking care of yourself is the ability to recognize I am reaching the end of my tether. I need help. I need support. Taking care of yourself is I need to recognize when I need to step out and to start negotiating with your guilty feelings and putting them in the right spaces and in their proper place. You're not a bad parent for needing a break. You're not a bad parent for some days feeling like, you know what, I love my kids, but currently I don't like them. I don't want to spend time with them. It doesn't make you a bad parent. It makes you someone that needs a break. Own it and reach out. There are more people that is feeling the way that you're feeling than what you are actually aware of. So be kind to each other. And that is where I'm going to end tonight's soapbox chat. Next week, we'll probably talk a bit about the COVID fatigue in kids and how their behavior um, will uh, basically influences things. Um, and then have a good night. And if you're watching this after everything, please remember to just type in hashtag replay in the comments. Please let me know how you're feeling. Stay safe and remember to like the video. It really helps out this channel. Cheers.